ఇంటర్మీడియట్ విద్యా రంగంలో అగ్రగామి మన ఎన్ఎస్ఆర్ ఇంపల్స్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూషన్. ఐఐటి జేఈఈ అయినా నీట్ అయినా తిరుగులేని విద్యా సంస్థ ఎన్ఎస్ఆర్ ఇంపల్స్.
Good morning to all. Today, let us discuss some important fundamental points related to this chapter, periodic table. Actually, the chapter is already over, even though there are a few concepts which are correlating the periodic properties that we have to discuss. First one, what is the relation between the ionization potential and electron affinity? As we have already mentioned, they can be represented in terms of thermodynamic laws. They can be connected with each other in terms of thermodynamic laws. How? Here, ionization potential and electron affinities are calculated or measured at absolute temperature. What is the meaning of the absolute temperature? Absolute zero means 0 Kelvin. What is the meaning of the absolute temperature? The temperature at where the volume of the gas will become zero. The temperature at where the volume of the gas will become zero is known as absolute temperature. Here ionization potential and electron affinities are calculated at absolute temperatures. As a result of that, according to thermodynamic laws, they can be represented as here enthalpy of ionization delta Hi is equal to ionization energy at absolute temperature plus integral 0 to T and Cp naught dt. This is a thermodynamic expression. Actually, this is related to ionization energy or ionization potential. And here this is the ionization potential calculated at absolute temperature. From that we can calculate enthalpy of ionization. Means what? The amount or the minimum amount of energy required for the removing of a loosely held outermost electron from the valence shell in a neutral isolated gaseous atom in its ground state. That is ionization energy or ionization potential. Right. And in the same way, electron affinity. What is electron affinity? The amount of energy released or liberated when an electron is added to isolated neutral gaseous atom in its ground state is known as electron affinity. And here in the same way, electron gain enthalpy delta Heg is equal to electron affinity delta H naught Ea plus, okay, here plus, here minus integral 0 to T into Cp naught dt. This is equation 2. In these two cases, Cp naught is equal to heat capacity of a substance, at constant pressure, and at absolute temperature. Cp is the heat capacity of a substance at constant pressure, and Cp naught means that is at absolute temperature. Okay. And what is dt? dt is change in temperature. And what is delta He? Ionization potential at absolute temperature. What is delta Hi? Ionization enthalpy at a given temperature, at any temperature. What is delta Heg? Electron gain enthalpy at given temperature. What is delta H naught A? This is electron affinity at absolute temperature. These are all thermodynamic expressions. And here we have already known ionization potential is an endothermic process. Here the energy is absorbed by the neutral atom. And electron affinity is an exothermic process. Means energy is liberated. Delta H is equal to negative. Here delta H is equal to positive. Delta H is equal to positive. Right? And same time we know that Cp minus Cv is equal to R. From this expression we can calculate Cp is equal to 5 by 2R according to thermodynamic laws that is taken from the physics concepts. Cv is equal to 3 by 2R. By substituting this in these expressions, finally we get delta Hi means ionization energy at given temperature is equal to ionization potential means enthalpy of ionization at absolute temperature plus 5 by 2 RT. On integration finally we get this one. And same time here delta H Eg is equal to electron affinity minus 5 by 2 RT. 5 by 2 RT. This is about the thermodynamic relation between electron affinity and ionization enthalpy. And this is the explanation based on thermodynamic laws. But here we should understand the relation in a theoretical approach. But here the example is already given to you. What is that? Let us consider a metal atom M, that is neutral gaseous atom, plus Ip gives rise M plus electron. Here this is ionization potential of neutral atom M. This is ionization potential of neutral atom M, this one. This one. Here the same reaction is reversed. M plus gaseous ion plus electron gives rise M gas plus energy. Here this is nothing but electron affinity. Here the electron affinity, here the amount of energy is related to which species? This one, unipositive cation. From this, by using thermodynamic relations, we can make a statement. What is that? Ionization potential of M is equal to electron affinity of M plus. Ionization potential of this Ip, ionization potential of M is equal to electron affinity of M plus. This is the expression of giving of relation between the electron affinity and ionization potential. And here actually this type of questions are given in statement type questions. Which one of the following statement is correct? Which one of the following statement is correct? Here the two expressions are given and four options are given as ionization potential of M plus is equal to electron affinity of M plus. Wrong. Ionization potential of M is equal to electron affinity of M2 plus. Wrong. Ionization potential of M is equal to electron affinity of M plus. That is correct. Means you have to understand the relation between ionization potential and electron affinity. This is the one of the concept that depends upon thermodynamic laws. And next one. Here, during the topic valency, I have given definitions and periodicities, etc. If you extend the concept of valency to some extent that can be useful in the next chapter, chemical bond. What about the extension of definitions? Right. Here, valency nowadays represented as two types. What are they? First one, covalency, and the second one, electrovalency. Covalency, electrovalency. Actually, these two types of valencies are given in the next chapter. Actually, I thought that the definitions can be given in the next chapter. But some of you arises the doubt related to valency in the last topics. As a result of that, I would like to give the details of that also. What is covalency? How can you define covalency? Look at the first definition. The number of unpaired electrons. The number of unpaired electrons given by atom of an element to form bond pairs with other atoms is known as covalency. Example, for the first definition, HCl. In HCl, there is a covalent bond between the hydrogen and chlorine. Means there is a bond pair present between the hydrogen and chlorine. In this bond pair, one electron is given by hydrogen, another electron is given by chlorine. Each atom contributes one electron or one unpaired electron for the formation of the bond pair or shared pair. Therefore, valency of hydrogen or covalency of hydrogen is equal to 1 in this molecule. Covalency of chlorine is equal to 1. In the same way, we can give or we can repeat once again. The number of unpaired electrons contributed by atom of an element for the formation of the bond pair in a molecule is known as covalency. Right? Second definition, the number of covalent and dative bonds formed by atom of an element in a covalent molecule. In a covalent molecule or covalent compound is known as covalency. Is known as covalency. The number of covalent and dative bonds formed by atom of an element in a covalent compound is known as covalency. Example. Here, what is the valency of sulfur in sulfuric acid? For that you have to familiar with the structure of the molecule. Now, what is the covalency of sulfur? 6. Here, covalency of sulfur is equal to 6. How can you say? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And next one, HNO3. Nitric acid. What is the covalency of sulfur in nitric acid? 1, 2, 3. 3 covalent bonds plus 1 dative bond. Total valence is equal to 4 or covalency is equal to 4. Covalence is equal to 4. Next, another example, perchloric acid. Another example, perchloric acid, Cl, OH. This is perchloric acid. What is the covalency of chlorine and perchloric acid? 2 plus 2 plus 2, 6. 6 plus 1, 7. Therefore, covalency of chlorine in perchloric acid is equal to 7, but here only 1. What is the meaning of that? Atom of the same element exhibit different covalencies in different covalent compounds or different compounds. The number of unpaired electrons contributed or given by atom of an element for the formation of the bond pairs in a molecule is known as its covalency. And the number of covalent and dative bonds formed by atom of an element in a covalent compound is known as its covalency. It's a covalency. This is about the concept of covalency. Okay. But there is an important note. The word covalency is confined to only covalent molecules or covalent compounds. Covalent molecules or covalent compounds. In the same way, electrovalency is also known as ionic valency. It is restricted or confined to ionic compounds only. It is restricted or confined to ionic compounds only. How can you define ionic valency or electrovalency? It is confined to only ionic compounds. How can you define? The number of electrons that are transferred from the metal atom to non-metal atom during the formation of the ionic bond. During the formation of the ionic bond is known as ionic valency or electrovalency. Suppose this is sodium. Sodium loses an electron resulting in the formation of Na plus ion. That electron is gained by the chlorine resulting in the formation of Cl minus ion. By the combination of cation and anion resulting in the formation of sodium chloride. Here one electron is transferred from the metal to non-metal. Therefore, electrovalency of sodium is equal to 1. But here electrovalency should be applicable or is concerned with the metal atoms only, but not non-metals. And next one. And here second definition. The number of electrons lost from a metal atom during the formation of the ionic bond is also known as electrovalency. Take for example magnesium fluoride. Here electrovalency is equal to 2. Which electrovalency? Electrovalency of magnesium. And third example, aluminum fluoride. Here electrovalency of aluminum is equal to 3. The number of electrons lost from the metal atom during the formation of the ionic bond is known as electrovalency, or the number of electrons transferred from the metal to non-metal during the formation of the ionic bond is known as electrovalency, which is represented as ionic valency, which is confined to only ionic compounds. Covalency is confined to only covalent compounds. This is the additional information that related to the concept of valency, which is already given in the previous classes. And same definitions, same concepts will be repeated in the next chapter, chemical bond. Within few days they will come once again. For that you have to keep in mind all these concepts. And you should mention or you should keep in mind one important aspect. I came across a most common dialogue of a parent and also student. We are not thoroughly known about the fundamentals of a subject. And here the fundamentals are not sprinkled just like rain from the sky. Once the information is given that related to the chapter, you have to pick out. You have to find out the important points and important concepts. Whatever you find in the information given by the teacher, that should be applicable or that should be used in the incoming chapters. Then only you can understand the relation, or then only you can understand the link between the two consecutive chapters. Take for example, after the completion of the atomic structure, we can directly jump to the chemical bond. Undoubtedly, no problem with that, but without knowing properly or without proper knowledge related to the periodic table, you can't get the right manner or right way of information related to chemical bond. As a result of that, after completion of the atomic structure, you should come across periodic table. In atomic structure, you can cover some fundamental points or fundamental topics. What are they? Isotope, isobar, isotone, isodiapher, atomic number, atomic mass. Okay, and next one, principles of electronic configurations, Pauli's principle, Auber principle, Hund's rule. And next one, Schrodinger wave equations, de Broglie wave theories, Bohr theory, Sommerfeld theory. These are all the fundamentals which are already known to you and given from the 6th class onwards. But here, what is the difference between the 6th class and +1? The only difference is the depth of the information and standard of the objective question. That is the only difference. So, here in this chapter periodic table also, we came across so many fundamental points, and fundamental you should be keep in mind, and you should recall during the period of first year and also second year. You should not neglect them. What are they? What are they? Look at here. First one, Mendeleev periodic law. Now simply you have to recall the concept given in the chapter. Next, modern periodic law. Right? And then Moseley's expression. What is Moseley's expression? Root nu is equal to A into Z minus B. A and B are constants. Root nu is equal to frequency of the X-ray spectral line of given element. Z is equal to atomic number. What is the significance of the Moseley's expression? In order to explain the relation between the properties, which properties? Physical and chemical properties of the elements and atomic number, he plotted a graph between square root of frequency of X-ray spectral line of an element versus atomic number. That expression is very important. Actually, the same expression is given in the atomic structure also. Why it is once again repeated? That expression has that much of importance. That you have to understand. Moseley's expression. And then classification of elements into blocks. Classification of elements into types. And here we can transuranic elements, transition triads, typical elements. What are typical elements? Third period elements are known as typical elements. What are the bridge elements? Second period elements are known as bridge elements. Second period elements are known as bridge elements. What about the differentiating electron? You have to think about all these concepts after completion of a chapter. You have to find out the details, important points related to a chapter like this. The electron which enters last in an atom is known as differentiating electron. And here we came across so many general electronic configurations. What are the general electronic configuration of, or what is the general electronic configuration of S block elements? NS1 to 2. P block elements NS2 NP1 to 6. Representative elements NS1 to 2 NP1 to 5. Transition elements NS1 to 2 N minus 1D 1 to 10. That is also for D block elements. What about the general electronic configuration of inner transition elements NS2 N minus 1D 0, 1, N minus 2F 1 to 14. What is the general oxidation state of transition elements? Plus 2. General oxidation state of inner transition elements? Plus 3. What is the general oxidation state of F block elements? Plus 3. D block elements? Plus 2. What is the general electronic configuration of first A group elements? Plus 1. How can you say based on electronic configuration? How can you identify the general oxidation state? There is a statement. What is that? From first A to fifth A group elements, the general oxidation state is equal to its group number. Beyond that, the general oxidation state can be calculated by using an expression G minus 8, that is equal to general oxidation state beyond fifth A group element, that is 0 group elements. The maximum valency of atom of an element is equal to its group number. These are all related to the first part of the chapter. After that, periodic properties. In periodic properties, in the topic atomic radius, we came across 3 important radii: metallic radius, covalent radius, van der Waals radius. Then you have to keep in mind, van der Waals radius is greater than that of metallic radius is greater than that of covalent radius. Van der Waals radius is 40% greater than that of covalent radius. And van der Waals radius is applicable for only 0 group elements. Metallic radius is applicable for only metals. And covalent radius is applicable for only P block elements. How can you understand all those things? By thoroughly understanding the concept given by the teacher, and also go through when you properly go through the books only. This is about the atomic radius. An important topic related to atomic radius is lanthanide contraction. Very important one. Lanthanide contraction. Related to lanthanide contraction, I will ask a question to you. What is that? Look at here. Ionic radius of lanthanum 3 plus is equal to 1.08 angstrom units. Are you clear? And ionic radius of lutetium 3 plus is, this is the question. Read thoroughly. Ionic radius of lanthanum 3 plus is 1.08 angstrom units. Ionic radius of lutetium 3 plus is, this is the question. Options. First option 1.53 angstrom units. Second option 0.84 angstrom units. Third option 1.39 angstrom units. Fourth one 2 angstrom units. What is the answer? What is the answer for that? This is the answer. Why? Now you have to think about the lanthanide contraction. What is lanthanide contraction? In lanthanides, with increase of the atomic number, the atomic radius or ionic radius gradually decreases. That phenomenon is known as lanthanide contraction. Okay, but how can you apply? Lanthanum is the first element of the series. Actually, cerium is the first lanthanide, but lanthanum is the first element of lanthanide series. Now you are once again get confusion. Number of lanthanides is equal to 14 from cerium to lutetium. But number of elements in lanthanide series is equal to 15. Why? In lanthanide series, the element lanthanum is also added. But in lanthanides, from series angstrom units. This is the last element of the lanthanide series. Means what? The atomic radius or ionic radius should be decreased. This is 1.08. Means what? The ionic radius of Lu3+, lutetium 3+, should be less than that of 1.08. In these four values, which one of the following is less than 1.08? Only this one. 1.53 greater than this one. So that is not answer. 1.39 greater than this one. So that is not answer. 2 angstrom unit, this is greater than this one. So that is also not answer. Here 0.84 is there. This is less than that of 1.08. That you have to apply the concept what you have learned in the class. That is important. This is about the atomic radius. Okay. And next one, ionization potential. Ionization potential, definition, factors, periodicity, applications, these are all quite common. But here, objective point of view, you have to concentrate in the calculation of valency and in the representation of the molecular formulae. I have given in the same class also examples. And here, for a given element, the order of ionization potentials is given as this one. Therefore, valency of that element is. Valency of that element is. In some cases, the same values are given in terms of numericals also. You have to check out the difference. Then you can easily calculate the valency. Here there is a sudden jump at the fourth IP value. Before that, how many IP values are there? 3. Therefore, valence is equal to 3. And here that element forming the ion with the +3 charge. Now, what is the chloride of this one? MCl3. What is the sulfate of this one? M2SO4 taken thrice. What is the nitrate of this ion? MnO3 taken MnO3 taken thrice. Okay, this is about the application of the concept what we are learning in the class in case of objective exams, ionization potential and atomic radius. And next one, what about the order of second ionization potentials of the following elements? This is most frequently asked question. I have given 4 elements: carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine. Okay. Here I have given 4 elements: carbon, nitrogen, oxygen and fluorine. Related to the 4 elements, if the IP1 is asked, then the question is very easy. But such type of questions never asked, will be not asked in the objective exam. Why? Carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine. That is very easy. Okay. But when second IP order of second ionization potential is asked for the 4 elements, then you may fall in confusion. 2 ways are there for solving such type of questions. One is practice, another one is logic. What about the logic to this? First you have to write the IP1 of the elements. Carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine. He is asked about the IP2. Means what? One electron removed from carbon, then that become boron. One electron removed from nitrogen, then that become carbon. One electron removed from oxygen, then that become nitrogen. One electron removed from fluorine, then that become oxygen. For these 4 elements, you have to write IP1 first. That is, this is the order of first IP, order of first ionization potentials of these elements. These are the element that represent the second IP of this one. Now, put the same thing in this. Carbon, okay, nitrogen, next oxygen and fluorine. This is the order of second IP. Here the objective is you have to find out the second IP that can be identified from the first IP orders. Means what? In a period as we move from left to right, with the decrease of atomic radius, ionization potential gradually increases. That is the general statement, but there is a deviation in case of second year group elements and also fifth year group elements and finally 0 group elements. This is the one of the important model of questions that are given in the objective exams. And next one. What about electronegativity? Here, related to the electronegativity, the order is important. And next one, here Mullikan scale is applicable for only monovalent atoms, and formula electronegativity is equal to ionization potential plus electron affinity by 2. Based on the units that are used to express ionization potential and electron affinity, here the formula may be varies in different ways. What are they? When electron volts are given for the ionization potential and electron affinity, IP plus electron affinity by 5.6. When kilojoules are given, IP plus electron affinity by 540. When the kilocalories are given, IP plus electron affinity by 129. And Mullikan scale is or the electronegativity calculated from the Mullikan scale is 2.8 times greater than that of Pauling scale. And what about the formula used to calculate Pauling scale? Modular XA minus XB is equal to 0.208 into root delta. Here this expression is used when delta is given in terms of kilocalories per mole. Modular XA minus XB is equal to 0.1017 into root delta when delta is given in terms of kilojoule per mole. But in these two, one of the two elements, either A or B, should be taken the hydrogen element, its electronegativity 2.1. Very, very important bit. Which one of the following element is taken as the standard to calculate the electronegativities of the elements present in the periodic table? Hydrogen, its electronegativity 2.1. And next one, electron affinity. Related to electron affinity, there is an important statement. What is that? For the most of the element, the first electron affinity is exothermic and second electron affinity is endothermic. That is very, very important concept what you have to learn. The same question will be repeated in the second year. P block elements, 6th group elements. And next one, the electron affinities of the third period elements are greater than that of the electron affinities of first period elements in representative elements. Why? The same question will be once again come in the second year halogens. And what about the order of the electron affinity in case of the halogens? For halogens, chlorine, fluorine, bromine, iodine. And in case of chalcogens, means 60 group elements, sulfur, selenium, tellurium, oxygen. Here the same order is also given as, in order to make you confusion, fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, or oxygen, sulfur, selenium and tellurium. Okay. This is about electron affinity. And next one, you have already came across the periodicity of all these. Periodicity of all these. All these means periodic properties. Electropositivity. And next, another important aspect or concept is the nature of oxides and valency. And next one, nature of oxides, valency and diagonal relation and reducing property, how it varies. And next one, oxidizing property. These are all the topics you should thoroughly come across. Then it is very convenient and easy to approach the objective bits which are given as assignments in the previous class from module 1. From module 1 I have given 2 assignments. Up to electron affinity and electronegativity I have given. And now you have to complete the remaining topics also. What are they? Electropositivity, nature of oxides, valency, and next one oxidation states, and reducing property, oxidizing properties you have to complete, and you should complete module 1 as an assignment. Okay. And next one, now generally and frequently we can make some statements from this chapter. Whatever the statements given in the chapter, you should remember until completion of your advanced exam in the second year. That much of important. Here the fundamental chapters, periodic table, atomic structure, chemical bond, states of matter. These are all the chapters which are given in the first year. And here, whatever the chapters or topics given in the first year are more helpful to understand the second year in a better way. Why? Whatever it may be the objective exam, that may be advanced exam, mains exam, MSET exam, BITSET exam, NEET exam, whatever it may be the objective exam, most of the questions will be given from second year only. 60 to 65 questions will be given from second year only. Only 35 to 40 or 30 to 35% of questions will be given from 11th class or junior inter. Why? For CBSE students there is no exam in 11th class. Only for board exams like Telangana board and Telugu state boards, only there will be an exam for the 11th class. As a result of that, here most of the questions in the objective examinations of national level, here the questions will be given mostly from second year. That is about the important note. Okay, now I will give the statements. The elements with the highest IP value in the periodic table is helium. Elements, noble gases. The element with the lowest IP in the periodic table is cesium, available element. and the elements with low IP values in the periodic table are alkali metals. Elements with high electron affinity values in the periodic table are halogens. Element with high electron affinity is chlorine. Non-metal with high electron affinity in the periodic table, chlorine. Metal with high electron affinity in the periodic table is Rm. And the elements with zero electron affinity, zero electronegativity, zero electropositivity in the periodic table are noble gases. Least electronegative elements are alkali metals. Most electronegative elements are halogens. Most electronegative elements are halogens. Highly electropositive elements and strongest metals are present in first A group elements, alkali metals. Least metallic nature is observed in zero group. These are all the statements. Among the concept of oxidation state, in 3D series the maximum oxidation state shown by manganese, that is +7 in KMnO4. And the stable maximum oxidation state of 4D series is +8, ruthenium tetroxide, that is unstable. And the maximum oxidation state given by 5D series elements is osmium tetroxide, that is stable. So the question, which one of the following metal gives the highest oxidation state in the periodic table, that is +8? Which one of the following metal that gives the highest oxidation state +8 in the periodic table? Osmium. This is about some of the general statements which are already given in the chapter or in the previous classes. Simply, I will try to bring your notice once again by making the statements. These are all you should keep in mind. Then it is very convenient to solve the objective questions which are given in any objective book, not only our study material, that means objective material, mains, advanced, whatever it may be. Not only our material, in any material you can solve the problems or you can solve the objective bits. That's all, right.